Previously on the Road Nomad, we visited Toronto, Canada's largest city, enjoyed the majesty of Niagara Falls, navigated the waters of the St. Lawrence River among the 1,000 islands, and explored Ottawa, Canada's capital. Today we visit the city of Montreal with its Olympic Stadium, Biodome, St. Joseph Oratory in Montreal, the charming old town, the Latin Quarter, stumble upon a music festival, and stroll around the downtown area. So stay tuned. Road Nomad is next. Oh, Montreal. What a great city. So much to see and so little time. Montreal is the largest city in the province of Quebec, the second largest in Canada after Toronto. Originally called the Ville Marie or City of Mary, it derives its modern name from Montreal in modern French. We arrive around noon at our hotel, the Best Western Plus Hotel Europa, very well located on Drummond Street, between Boulevard Rennes-Ladesque and Rue Sainte-Catherine. Only one of our rooms is ready and the other one's not, so we drop our bags and continue towards the Olympic Stadium and the Biodome. We will visit these sites first because we are basically homeless. And tomorrow we will hit Old Montreal, downtown, and the many things in between. The Olympic Stadium was the main venue of the Montreal 1976 Summer Olympics, which almost bankrupted the city. The stadium was an engineering nightmare, mainly because of its malfunctioning retractable roof, and it took the city 30 years to pay it off. We drive on Sherbrooke Street towards this important landmark, and we arrive. We take this funicular to the top of the Montreal Tower, the world's tallest inclined tower. It's part of the retractable roof mechanism that never quite worked. The cables attached to this tower pulled the roof up, but unfortunately, that doesn't work anymore. Even though the tower is almost 10 kilometers away from downtown, it still offers great views of the city, as we can see. They have panels above explaining what we are looking at, and there's the Biodome below, which we will visit next. We see Montreal and the Olympic Stadium below, and the Place Ville Marie, the tall building in the middle of downtown, the St. Joseph Oratory, the St. Lawrence River. Nice views, but nothing spectacular. Perhaps we're spoiled, I don't know. They also have these models of the Olympic Stadium. Right next door we have the Biodome de Montreal. Originally a velodrome for the Olympic Games, it is now an artificial environment where we can see the fauna and flora of 4 different climates in the Americas. We begin with the tropical forest ecosystem. We are right now at the Biodome in Montreal, Canada. And as you can see, we're in the tropical zone. As you can see, it's really hot and really humid. I'm sweating profusely. But now we're hopefully going to another latitude. This ecosystem reminds us very much of our own Miami climate, as it is hot and muggy, extremely humid. But before we jump into more comfortable latitudes, let's explore a little bit. We see the world's largest rodent. And monkeys. How can you go wrong with monkeys? And parrots. And waterfalls. And weird ugly fish. Neon frogs, a condor, alligators. They even have a bat cave. Luckily, the next section will be much more comfortable climate-wise, and soon enough we arrive at the Laurentian maple forest. We get to see all kinds of fish and a porcupine. They also have the beavers. Very cool little animals. And of course, the majestic Canada lynx. There's also the marine ecosystem. Very cool. And finally, penguins. This place is really cool, but we must go on as we rush through the fossil exhibit. We are hungry, so we go down to this pedestrian area called the Rue Prince Arthur, which we've heard is great for dining, and here we are. After much deliberation, we decided to have lunch at this Greek place called La Taverne Grecque. Our timing is impeccable as always, as we arrive when the place is completely dead. The food is excellent, of course, although not what I would think as typical Greek food. It is around 6 p.m., perhaps a little too early for dinner, as the area starts to get crowded when we are about to leave. Walking around, we encounter this Colombian place and decide to have some coffee. It's some kind of hippie art gallery, but the espresso is great and very nice folks as well. We continue roaming around the Rue Prince Arthur. The street ends at St. Louis Square, with all these picturesque and colorful houses. Right now we're going to visit the St. Joseph Oratory on Montreal. It is a Roman Catholic minor basilica and Canada's largest church. Who knew? There is also a pretty nice view towards the north from top of the stairs. Nearby they have also this lookout on Montreal, where we can see the Olympic Stadium and the eastern part of the city, surrounded by all these friendly scavenging raccoons. Aren't they lovely? We are exhausted, but decide to end the night by watching a hockey game. How Canadian of us. At the Marriott, next door to our hotel, drinking Cuban rum, illegal in the US. Oh, Montreal. Good night. Good morning, Montreal. We have breakfast at this place next to the hotel called Chef Cora, which was great. We walk towards the Lucien Lallier subway station, just a couple of blocks away, to take the train towards the old Montreal area. We get off at Place d'Armes. The station is right next to the small Montreal Chinatown. We walk along Rue de la Goucheture, exploring a little bit. We buy some tea and browse for some souvenirs. This is the building where the metro station is located, and like in Toronto, they have all these bicycles for rent. Moving along, let's head towards Place d'Armes, where the famous Notre-Dame Basilica is located. Very touristy, with horse-drawn carriages and everything. And this person almost lost her carriage and her horse. The horse went loose. Alright, let's get back in line now. The fleur-de-lis is the symbol of the province of Quebec, as we can see it here in the granite pavers. The Notre-Dame Basilica is a Gothic revival church, completed in 1830. The Pantheon-like building is the head office of the Bank of Montreal. As in many major touristy squares, there are street musicians. These ones are very nice. Let's go inside the church, but before, let's have one more view of the Place d'Armes and the ALDRED building, the first Art Deco skyscraper in Montreal. The interior of the basilica is beautiful, grand and colorful, with its unconventional blue and gold ceiling. There are these wooden statues of Ezekiel and Jeremiah, as well as hundreds of intricate wooden carvings. Very nice. The unconventional stained glass windows depict scenes from the religious history of Montreal, as opposed to the classic biblical scenes, so it's kind of unconventional, as I said. The pipe organ dates back to 1891 with 4 keyboards, 92 electro-pneumatic stops, 7,000 pipes, and a pedal board. We continue walking along the cobblestone streets of the old city. We stumble upon the Place Royale, the site of the first settlement in Montreal by the old port, and there's a train passing by. Across the river, we see Habitat 67. This architectural marvel was constructed as part of Expo 67, reflecting a futuristic concept of affordable housing. Ironically, it's one of the most exclusive pieces of real estate in the city. Here's looking back at Notre-Dame and the ALDRED building. This park runs along the Old Port Promenade, a great place to hang out in these early days of summer. We go back up to Rue Saint-Paul, the main drag of old Montreal. There are many shops and restaurants and pubs, and the tourists are coming out in droves. Eventually, we stumble upon Place Jacques-Cartier, a very touristy, lined with hotels, restaurants, cafes, street artists. It slopes down to the St. Lawrence River. At the top, we see Nelson's Column, dedicated to the admiral who defeated Napoleon. He faces away from the river due to his seasickness. Go figure. At the top, we also see the Hotel de Ville, City Hall, where French President Charles de Gaulle shouted in 1967, "Vive la Quebec libre!" fanning up all the flames of bilingual unrest. Next, we pass by historic NOTRE-DAME-De-BON-SECOURS. I don't know exactly what I was expecting to see inside, but it wasn't a shopping mall.
And the crab house.
Next, we visit Notre-Dame-De-Bon-SECOURS Chapel, dedicated to Virgin Mary, Our Lady of Perpetual Help. And the ship hanging from the roof is an offering to the Virgin by sailors to express gratitude for safe passage. Even to this day, descendants of those who sailed gather here every year to pay thanks. Next, we go down to the crypt, an archaeological site with treasures discovered as recently as 1996, while excavating the original site of the chapel which burned down. I am able to take a few seconds of video, but they tell me photography is forbidden, so oh well. Up we go, the 69 steps to the tower and a few more to the Belvedere.
We still have to go all the way up there.
We get a very nice view of the old port from here, with the clock tower in sight. The spherical structure in the distance is the biosphere, not to be confused with the biodome. The transparent acrylic panels burned in a fire in 1976. The structure nowadays houses the Environmental Museum. It turns what I thought was the Belvedere is actually the bell tower, so it's a pretty nice view anyways. We got a pretty good view anyway of the Habitat 66 from up here as well, so let's go back down. Yep, we were up there just a few minutes ago. Next, we walk towards the clock tower. Located on the clock tower quay, it also served as a lighthouse, and it marks the entry to the port of Montreal.
It's 192 steps all the way up. You can count them.
The clock face, which looks out over 4 directions, was built in London and it's a replica of the Big Ben. As I go up the stairs, I can see some of the clock mechanism, and the views from the top are pretty good. Here we can see the clock tower key and downtown and the big cross on top of Montreal. Actually, I think I forgot I was taking video because the best shot was taken with the still photography camera. Go figure. Here are my travel companions who didn't feel like climbing the 192 steps, but then again, who would have taken these nice pictures of me at the top? Okay, time to go down. Here we see once again the clock mechanism as I descend down the spiral staircase. Next, we go back near the NOTRE-DAME-DE-BON-SECOURS chapel in order to take the bus. We are going to the Latin Quarter, traveling on SAINT-DENIS Street. Here they are having some kind of festival. This is the center of Montreal Francophone culture, with the UQAM, the Université du Québec en Montréal, at the center of it all. We walk around this lively neighborhood looking for somewhere to eat, and the options are plenty. We are definitely in the French part of town. Everybody's speaking French. We finally decide on this place called Les Trois Brasseurs, the Three Brewers. It's a restaurant and brewery, and we have the obligatory poutine, of course. They even have a breathalyzer on site, pretty unique. We continue walking on Rue Sainte-Catherine East, crossing Boulevard Saint-Laurent, which is also called the Main. And lo and behold, they are having another festival. But this one is not just any festival, it's the Francophonie de Montréal. No wonder they have this big bicycle parking lot. You can hear the music from blocks away. The Francophonie is the biggest music festival in the French-speaking world since 1989, with over 1,000 performers and hundreds of thousands of attendees. And we found it by chance. We didn't really do our research on this one, and it's a real treat to attend one of its many free concerts. I don't even know the name of the person singing, but the energy is great, and the crowd seems to be having a good time. Another thing to take note of for the next time we visit Montreal, all these festivals. We continue walking on Rue Sainte-Catherine towards our hotel. All of a sudden, to our right, the St. James United Church, originally the largest Methodist church in Canada. And we are back by downtown. The tall building, Place Ville-Marie, Montreal's most famous skyscraper. At the time of its construction in 1967, it was the world's largest and most complex office building, and it is the starting point of the mythical and complicated underground city. We continue walking on Rennes-Lavesque Street, passing by the Basilica Marie Reine du Monde, a small-scale replica of the Vatican's St. Peter Cathedral. Passing by Dorchester Square, we return to Rue Sainte-Catherine and they are having some kind of protest. Don't really know what this is all about. They've got the guns, but we got the numbers. Interesting. We take a short break at the hotel, and even though we are exhausted, we decide to walk around a little more. It was the original plan to go back to the Francophonie festival, and our minds and spirit say one thing, but our bodies refuse to comply. I guess we are not 20 anymore. We content ourselves with walking along Dorchester Square. The Boer War Memorial is the only equestrian statue in the city of Montreal. As we continue walking on McGill College Avenue towards the McGill College, we encounter the Illuminated crowd sculpture, going from illumination to hope, involvement, hilarity, irritation, fear, illness, violence, murder, and death. a range of emotions showing the fragile nature of humanity.
I'd rather be with the illuminated ones. We continue, the Montreal cross visible from where we are, as we arrive at the McGill University, named after prominent Montreal merchant James McGill from Glasgow, Scotland. It is one of the oldest universities in Canada. Although officially bilingual, it's predominantly Anglophone. After many years of unrest, still only about 18% of the student population is Francophone. We continue walking around the streets at dusk. Running on fumes, really. We are exhausted, but it is our last night in Montreal and we want to absorb as much as we can. Here's the illuminated crowd now, no pun intended, properly illuminated. We discover an entrance to the almost deserted underground city and explore it a little bit and almost get lost in it. We emerge at the Place Ville-Marie. The fountain at the foot of the impressive skyscraper. Exhausted, we go back to the hotel. In the morning, we wake up and taking advantage of our 24-hour Le Casino transport pass, we take the metro once again. We emerge at this residential neighborhood called Mile End in Le Plateau Montreal to have breakfast at this famous bagel place called ST-VIATEUR. Let's just say that I wasn't all that impressed, but perhaps my expectations were too high. I mean, it wasn't bad, it was a good bagel, I'm just not a bagel person. The experience of exploring this not-so-touristy neighborhood is great, though. I love it. Our last point of interest is this viewpoint atop Montreal, which involves a little over a quarter-mile walk from the parking lot through this luscious forest. It offers commanding views of the city. Well, time to say goodbye to Montreal as we head northeast into the heart of French Canada, Quebec City. Halfway through, we take the scenic route along the Chemin du Roi. However, I had a camera malfunction, so all we have are these few views of the town of Sainte-Anne-de-la-Parade. After a little over 3 hours, we arrive at Quebec City, but that will be the subject of our next video. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of it. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Road Nomad, and visit the blog at roadnomad.com. I have had many comments on the YouTube page this month. Tyson commented on the Toronto video. I really enjoy your videos and I now want to visit Toronto again, but you haven't had real poutine or real bagels until you come to Montreal. Smiley face. Well, Tyson, as you can see, we just did. Sydney said on the Las Vegas and Grand Canyon video, "You are a fantastic tour guide. I know you are from the Miami area and that's where I hope to live very soon. But it seems like everywhere you go, you know all the history and attractions and so on. I will definitely call and ask you for advice if I decide to take a trip somewhere." And Ryan says on the California road trip, "I could listen to you talk all day." Well, thank you all for your comments and keep them coming. I am Robert Morales, your host. As always, thank you so much for watching and see you on the road.